the essence of the eternal divine spirit, the one that causes all that exists to exist, the one that is self-existent.
How many men have children and the children never meet their father? See, you created a void in that child because you are a part of that child.
Black power! Black power!
Black power!
Black power!
Black power!
Are you feeling fatigued and can barely make it through the day without some type of caffeine?
Are you on a journey of healing your body but need a little help?
Then alkaline water is what you really need.
Alkaline water has many benefits. Alkaline water can help restore pH balance in the body. Consuming beverages such as soda and coffee can make your body acidic.
Did you know that too much acid in your body has been linked to an anemia, heart disease, obesity, diabetes, autoimmune disease, chronic pain, and other chronic conditions like gout and arthritis?
Those who use alkaline water have reported increased energy levels, clearer skin, reduction in inflammation, better digestion, and many other health benefits. I've used alkaline water for years, and it's been instrumental in sustaining my health when I was diagnosed with sarcoidosis.
Are you ready to take responsibility for your body's health?
If the answer is yes, then our alkaline water is just what you need. Bring your own bottles. It's only $3 for each gallon. To place an order or for more information, you can reach us at 773-846-3091. Thank you in advance for your support.
Hi, my name is Sister Ebony Stevenson. I am your announcer for today. Welcome to the Toma Nation's weekly Sunday worship service from 12 p.m. to 2 p.m. every Sunday at 616 East 71st Street here in Chicago, Illinois, and also live on Facebook. If you would like more information, you can reach us at www.facebook.com/TomaNation2 or give us a call at 773-952-8302. Now I am going to recite our opening. In the name of the eternal divine spirit, the one that causes all that exists to exist, the one that is self-existent, the one who directs the sunships of millions and trillions of years, and the one who made time the seed of the universe, known among the ancient Kemites or Egyptians as Amun-Ra and Aten, among the Hebrews as Ansar, Yahweh, and Elohim, among the Christians as Lord, God, and Jehovah, among the Muslims and Islamic world as Allah, the one God, among the Rastafarians as Jah, Rastafari, among the Yoruba tribes of West Africa as Odumare, Eshu, and many other Orisha names. I bear witness that all these names refer to the same one, Almighty Spirit, and it is to that essence which I give reverence and to whom I submit. I boldly proclaim that we, the descendants of those black men and women who survived the transatlantic slave trade, are the Lost 13 tribe, born in North America and are of a Nubian Kemetic lineage. I further proclaim that the blood of all the nations of the earth flows through our veins. I greet you in the ancient but holy words of peace, Hotep, Shalom, Assalamu alaikum, Habaragani, Alafia, and Ashe. Now I am going to recite the 13 points of what we believe and know. Number 1. We believe and know that we are not to repeat the mistakes of the past prophets and messengers of the Almighty Creator of the heavens and earth. Number 2. We believe and know that we can only establish an economic base through the application of the knowledge of self and the incorporation of the ideologies of the Honorable Marcus Garvey, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, Mahatma Gandhi, and Ben Ami. Number 3. We believe and know that the prophets and messengers of the Holy Bible, the Holy Quran, and the Kemetic Holy Books were all black. Number 4, we believe and know that Jesus Christ of 2,000 years was and is a black man. Number 5, we believe and know that the knowledge of the Almighty Creator goes beyond books written by the prophets and messengers of the Almighty Creator. Number 6, we believe and know that in order to promote and coordinate unity, we must first recognize and accept the uniqueness of being able to worship our Creator, regardless of religious denomination, name, title, ritual, particular dress, or holy book, as long as it recognizes the Almighty Creator of the heavens, earth, and the universe as supreme. Number 7, we believe and know that it is impossible to tell the truth without exposing the wicked governments of the world. Number 8, we believe and know that the United States government, in collaboration with other European nations, have a denial objective to exterminate dark-skinned people of color off the earth through the act of genocide. Number 9, we believe and know that some of the most effective methods that are being used today are AIDS, birth control, alcohol and drug abuse, vaccinations, gang and domestic violence, systematic elimination of trauma centers, the public school system, and public aid within the black communities of America and the world. Number 10, we believe and know that the last trick that Satan is playing on us is the dividing of us by our religious differences, religious gangbanging. Number 11, we believe and know that the conflict between the various religions are comparable to the conflict between various street gangs within the inner cities of America. Number 12, we believe and know that the war on drugs and gangs is a diabolical plot to disarm the black community of weapons, break up the black family, withdraw our constitutional rights, also kill and incarcerate young black males under the undercover code name Able 2029. And number 13, we believe and know that every letter, shape, sound, and numerical value contains esoteric information that completely transcends the specific contextual meaning of the word. Our purpose: to bring about the growth of a righteous community in accordance with the laws of the Creator of the universe, under the leadership and guidance of Brother Minister Raheem Quasad Oxen, to provide solutions to the social and economic ills that plague the communities of urban America. Our goal: to re-educate and retrain youth and young adults to develop positive moral values as an alternative to delinquent behaviors, because you can't rebuild a community and not rebuild the minds of the residents of the community to meet the responsibilities of maintaining the community's image. Our mission: to enhance the economic development of our communities by establishing businesses, real and personal properties, thereby creating jobs and/or entrepreneurship training programs that will reverse the concept of leaving the community to buying back the community. Our motto: let your light so shine before men that they shall see your good works and glorify your Father which is in heaven. Matthew 5:16. Now we're going to recite our salute to the red, black, and green flag. Everyone put your right fist in the air and repeat after me. Here's to this flag of mine, the red, black, and green. Hopes in its future bright, Africa has seen. Here's to the red of it, great nations shall know of it. In time to come, red blood shall flow of it. Historians shall write of it, this flag of mine. Here's to the black of it, 400 million's back of it, whose destiny depends on it. The red, black, and green of it, oh flag of mine. Here's to the green of it, young men and women shall dream of it, face shots and shells for it, maidens shall sing of it, waving so high. Here's to the whole of it, colors bright and pole of it, pleased is my soul with it, regardless of what is told of it. Thanks to God for giving him this great flag of mine. Please keep your right fist raised high in the air as we sing our Black National Anthem. Black power, black power, black power. Black power is the power to define, develop, and defend that which is in the best interest of Black people.
Greetings, brothers and sisters. I'm your speaker today, Sister Ebony Stevenson. There we go. Welcome to the Toma Nation's weekly Sunday worship service, located here at 616 East 71st Street in the Grand Crossing community of Chicago, Illinois. Come and be fed by God's messengers. Today, I'm going to talk to you about a very interesting topic. My lecture title is Hidden Figures, Fearless Spirits, Black Women Who Made History. Some of the women I'm going to mention you may already be familiar with, and some you may not have heard of before. But given that it is Women's History Month, I wanted to uplift these Black women as we tend to focus on the usuals during Black History Month, which was last month. And so I just wanted to share some details about these fearless Black women who made history. If you're watching live on YouTube or Facebook, let us know if you have heard of these women before. And so some of you may know, some of you may know, and some of you may not know, but March is Women's History Month. And here at Toma, we actually had an amazing event on Friday where we observed Women's History Month, and we honored 4 amazing Black women for the awesome work that they do in our community. And the women that we honored were our own First Lady, Sister Makita Aten. We honored Pastor Victoria Brady, Pastor Vicki Johnson, and Pastor Gay Chisholm. And they received these 2025 Women History Month awards, and we had an event on Friday. And we had a packed house, and everyone had an amazing time because even though I'm about to talk about these women who made history, and some of them are deceased, but here at Toma, we believe in giving people their flowers while they're still here. And so we always want to make sure that we honor and uplift people who are doing amazing work. And so as we look at Women's History Month for the month of March, it holds a profound significance for the Black community, as it provides a dedicated time to honor and reflect on the invaluable contributions of Black women throughout history. Black women have long been at forefronts of movements for justice, equality, and social change, often without receiving the recognition they deserve. From Harriet Tubman's fearless leadership in the abolitionist movement to Rosa Parks' quiet but powerful defiance during the Civil Rights era, and the modern day activism of figures like Angela Davis and Stacey Abrams, Black women have played pivotal roles in shaping both Black history and the broader fight for human rights. Despite facing challenges of racism, Black women have continuously demonstrated resilience, strength, and ingenuity in the face of adversity. Their contributions extend across every field, from politics to science, arts, literature, sports, and beyond, breaking barriers and paving the way for future generations. Women's History Month serves not only as a time to celebrate these achievements, but also as a call to action to address the ongoing inequalities and systematic challenges that not only face Black women, but also their families and their communities. Recognizing and uplifting the voices of Black women during Women's History Month ensures that their stories are not erased or overlooked, but instead serve as powerful reminders of the critical role they play in driving progress and inspiring change. The first woman that I'm going to start with is someone that I learned about 15 years ago. And I actually ran a transitional house for homeless youth in the Chicago Lawn neighborhood, and I named the transitional house after her because I was inspired about her story. And that was Ella Baker. Ella Josephine Baker was born on December 13th, 1903, Norfolk, Virginia, and her upbringing was rooted in the principles of self-reliance and community activism. Her grandmother, a former enslaved woman, told Baker stories about the resilience and resistance of enslaved people, which deeply influenced her views on justice and equality. Baker attended Shaw University in North Carolina, where she graduated as the class valedictorian in 1927. Can you imagine all of the things that was going on in 1927, and she was still able to overcome those things and graduate as the class valedictorian? At her university, she challenged the administrator's conservative rules and advocated for greater student rights, foreshadowing her lifelong commitment to grassroots organizing and empowerment. Ella Baker is one of those examples when we talk about, the awesome and amazing things of the resiliency of Black women in shaping history, but we didn't just shape history for ourselves, we shaped history that everybody benefited from. Because at the end of the day, these Black women were fighting to improve their own communities. In 1930s, Baker moved to New York City, where she became involved in radical politics during the Great Depression. She joined the Young Negroes Cooperative League, which aimed to develop Black economic power through collective efforts. There we go, that economic power is something that we at TOMA talk about a lot. And we know when we talk about the liberation of Black people here in America, we cannot have that discussion without talking about economic power. During the early 1940s, Baker was working with NAACP, where she quickly rose through the ranks to become the highest ranking woman in the organization. Her most influential work began in the 1960s, where she co-founded SNCC, the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. How many of you knew that she co-founded SNCC? Mentoring young civil rights leaders like Stokely Carmichael and Diane Nash. Baker believed in group-centered leadership rather than relying on a single charismatic figure, shaping SNCC into a model for decentralized grassroots activism. That's something that we have talked about before here at TOMA. See, when you talk about decentralized leadership, that means that it doesn't matter who is in front of the camera, that there is more than one leader within the organization. So if something happens to that leader, hello people, our history is littered with different powers that be taking out our leaders, and then the movement falls. But Ella Baker believed in decentralized leadership, where there wasn't just one superhero leader, that there were multiple leaders so that people could stand up if somebody was no longer to take that position. Her legacy of empowering ordinary people to organize and lead continues to inspire movements for justice today. Why is this important? Sometimes when we think about, and as I'm mentioning these women who made amazing history, sometimes I feel like in the Black community, we can suffer from the superhero myth. And that's what we always talk about during Black History Month. We talk about the Martin Luther Kings. We talk about the Malcolm X's. We talk about the Rosa Parks. And these were great people who did extraordinary things, but we sometimes hold them to a certain accord as if they're superheroes, meaning that everyday ordinary people can't do the same things. You don't have to be a superhero to stand up for your community and to make change. And that was something that Ella Baker believed. Now we're gonna go to our next woman who was super awesome, and one of her quotes is actually in my email signature, and that is Fannie Lou Hamer. Fannie Lou Hamer was born on October 6, 1917, in Montgomery County, Mississippi, as the youngest of 20 children in a sharecropping family. She began working in cotton fields at the age of 6 and left school after the 6th grade to help support her family. Her life changed in 1962 when she attended a meeting held by SNCC and learned about the right to vote. After attempting to register to vote, Hamer was evicted from her home, beaten and arrested, but she refused to be silent. In 1964, she co-founded the Mississippi Freedom Democratic Party to challenge the all-white Mississippi delegation at the Democratic National Convention. Her powerful testimony about the violence and intimidation faced by Black voters captured national attention. Hamer's fairness declaration, "I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired," became the rallying cry for the civil rights movement. She continued to work for voting rights, once again, economic justice, and support for poor communities until her death in 1977. Now, I'm going to switch gears. I've been talking about a lot of civil rights women, but we're going to switch over into science and tech. Mae Jemison. Mae Carol Jemison was born on October 17, 1956 in Decatur, Alabama. And she grew up right here in Chicago. From a young age, Jemison was fascinated by science, particularly space travel, inspired by the television show Star Trek and the character Lieutenant Uhura. Jemison excelled academically and graduated from Stanford University at just 16 years old with a degree in chemical engineering and African American studies. She went on to earn a medical degree from Cornell University in 1981. While at Cornell, she studied in Cuba and worked at a refugee camp in Thailand. After working as a general practitioner and volunteering with the Peace Corps in West Africa, Jemison was accepted into the NASA astronaut program in 1987, becoming the first Black woman to travel into space in 1992 on the Space Shuttle Endeavour. Her work in space included conducting scientific experiments on bone loss and microgravity. After leaving NASA, she founded the Jemison Group, a company that develops new technologies and promotes science education. Jemison remains an advocate for STEM education, particularly for young girls of color. Our next person is Katherine Johnson. Katherine Johnson was born on August 26, 1918 in White Sulphur Springs, West Virginia. A gifted mathematician, Johnson's talents were recognized early, and she was enrolled in high school at the age of 10. She later attended West Virginia State College, where she studied under prominent mathematician W.W. Shockley Claytor and graduated summa cum laude in 1937. In 1953, Johnson joined the predecessor to NASA, where she worked as a computer. Like, they literally used her as a computer to compute math problems, performing complex mathematical calculations. Her calculations of orbital mechanics were critical to the success of NASA's first human spaceflight. Johnson's work ensured the success of John Glenn's 1962 orbital mission, as Glenn personally requested that Johnson recheck the flight's trajectory by hand before he would agree to the launch. Johnson later contributed to the Apollo program, calculating the flight paths that allowed the successful moon landing in 1969. Despite working in a segregated environment, Johnson's brilliance and accuracy earned her respect in NASA. Her life story was portrayed in the 2016 film Hidden Figures. She sounded familiar, Dee. And if you've seen that movie, you know, like, she went through a lot at NASA, but the fact that her mind was so amazing that it's just a prime example of the things that we can do when we put our mind to it. Now I'm going to transition from science and technology to art and cultural icons. Lorraine Hansberry. Lorraine Hansberry was born on May 19, 1930 in Chicago, Illinois. Her father, Carl Hansberry, was a successful real estate broker who challenged Chicago's racial housing laws in the landmark case Hansberry versus Lee in 1940. Hansberry became the first Black woman to have a play produced on Broadway with A Raisin in the Sun in 1959. The play explores racial discrimination and the struggles of a working-class Black family in Chicago. Hansberry's writing addressed issues of racial justice, gender inequality, and class. Hansberry died of pancreatic cancer at the age of 34, but her work remains a touchstone for American theater and the civil rights movement. Continuing along with arts, I'm going to go to Josephine Baker. Josephine Baker was born Frida Josephine McDonald on June 3, 1906 in St. Louis, Missouri. After experiencing racial discrimination in the United States, Baker moved to France in the 1920s, where she became one of the most famous performers in Europe. During World War II, Baker worked as a spy for the French resistance, using her celebrity status to gather intelligence from German officers. After the war, Baker became a civil rights activist, refusing to perform for segregated audiences in the U.S. Baker was the first Black woman to be buried with full French military honors. Just to take a break for a second, some of those names may sound familiar to you, but how many of you knew going deep into the story of how they got started doing what they did and the commitment that they had to making things better for not just our community, but for the world at large? It's like when we talk about, just if we were to flip the script for a second and talk about all the amazing things that Black people as a whole have done throughout history, these things didn't just benefit our community, it benefited America as a whole. And so when we talk about that America continues to survive and thrive off of the Blacks of Black people, this is also what we mean. And so as we continue to go along, and I'm not going to finish my entire list, if you learn something new from these women that you didn't know about before, let me know live on YouTube and Facebook, and based off of the comments, I might continue this lecture on Wednesday. The next person I'm going to talk about is Shirley Chisholm. Now, a lot of us have heard of Shirley Chisholm, and a lot of us haven't, because we understand that as we look at, the legacy in schools and learning about Black hidden figures like these, some schools teach and some schools don't. This is why it's a priority for us as Black families to teach these names to our children, so that we know of the accomplishments and things that we have done that everybody has benefited from. Shirley Chisholm was the first African-American woman elected to the United States Congress in 1968, and the first woman to seek the nomination for president from a major political party in 1972. Born to immigrant parents from Barbados and Guyana, Chisholm was a fierce advocate for marginalized communities. During her time in Congress, she fought for education reform, affordable child care, and expanded social services. Chisholm's 1972 presidential campaign broke barriers and inspired future generations of women and people of color to pursue political leadership. Her slogan, "Unbought and Unbossed," it just made me think of another political leader we had in Chicago who used that slogan when she ran for mayor and totally flipped the script on us, but that's a whole nother conversation. Reflected her independence and commitment to justice. Despite facing significant racism and sexism, Chisholm paved the way for future Black women in politics, including biracial Vice President Kamala Harris. The next person I'm going to talk about is Augusta Ball. Alice Ball was the first woman and the first African-American to earn a master's degree from the University of Hawaii. At just 23 years old, she developed the first effective treatment for leprosy, known as the Ball method. Ball's innovative method involved isolating the active compounds of Kalmugra oil, which had been used in traditional medicine, but was difficult to administer. Her work allowed leprosy patients to receive effective treatment for the first time, drastically improving their quality of life. Tragically, Ball died at the age of 24, and her contributions were nearly erased from history. It wasn't until decades later that she received proper recognition for her groundbreaking work. Continuing on, we're going to flip back over to arts. I'm going basically from arts to science and back again, because some of these contributions you may have heard of and some you may have not, but I just find them all very interesting. The next person we're going to talk about is Augusta Savage. Augusta Savage was a sculptor and influential art teacher during the Harlem Renaissance. Born in Florida, she moved to New York to study at the Cooper Union School of Art, where she was one of the few African American students. Savage's sculptures often depicted themes of African American identity and pride. Her most famous work, The Heart, 1939, was created for the 1939 World's Fair and inspired by the song Lift Every Voice and Sing. Despite her artistic success, Savage struggled to secure funding and institutional support due to racial discrimination. Nevertheless, she mentored many prominent African American artists, including Jacob Lawrence and Gwendolyn Knight, helping to shape the next generation of Black creatives. Continuing on with the art theme, Sister Rosetta Tharpe, known as the godmother of rock and roll, was a groundbreaking musician whose innovative guitar style and gospel-infused sound laid the foundation for rock music. Tharpe combined spiritual lyrics with electric guitar, influencing legendary artists such as Chuck Berry, Little Richard, and Elvis Presley. Despite facing racial and gender barriers, Tharpe's music gained international recognition, and she toured with major acts across the United States and Europe. Her 1938 recording, Rock Me, is considered one of the earliest examples of rock and roll. Her legacy continues to influence modern music, even though her contributions were long overshadowed by her male contemporaries. Switching back to science, Henrietta Lacks. This is someone you should know. Henrietta Lacks was an African-American woman whose cancer cells were taken without her consent and became one of the most important tools in modern medicine. Known as HeLa cells, her cells were the first to reproduce indefinitely in the lab, leading to groundbreaking medical advances, including the development of the polio vaccine, cancer treatments, and in vitro fertilization. Her story highlights the intersection of medical ethics and racial injustice. Her family was unaware of the use of her cells for decades, and they did not receive any financial compensation despite the immense profits generated by HeLa cells. Lack's legacy has since been acknowledged, and her story has become a powerful symbol of the need for ethical research practice and health equity. Colonizers do what colonizers do, stealing stuff. Dorothy Height. Dorothy Height was a civil rights and women's rights activist whose work spanned more than 7 decades. As the president of the National Council of Negro Women for 40 years, Height focused on issues of racial and gender equity, voting rights, and economic justice. Are we seeing this continuing theme? Height was instrumental in organizing the 1963 March on Washington, though she was excluded from speaking due to her gender. Nevertheless, she continued to work closely with leaders like Martin Luther King Jr. and John Lewis. Her leadership and advocacy helped create pathways for women and African Americans in politics, education, and business. Going on, now we're going to continue kind of with arts, but we're going to switch over to literature. And I know it is 12:53. Like I said, if you have learned something new and you would like a part 2 of this lecture, feel free to drop a comment live in the chat on YouTube, or if you're watching live on Facebook. Septima Clark. Septima Clark was an educator and civil rights activist known as the mother of the movement. Clark developed literacy programs in citizenship schools that empowered Black people to register to vote and understand their rights. Her innovative teaching methods combine literacy and political education, creating a foundation for grassroots organizing in the civil rights movement. She worked closely with the Southern Christians Leadership Conference and inspired a generation of activists through her commitment to education and social justice. Phyllis Wheatley. Phyllis Wheatley was the first African-American woman to publish a book of poetry. Born in West Africa and sold into slavery as a child, Wheatley was educated by her owners and demonstrated a remarkable talent for writing. You know, sometimes as we read about history, it just, even though like when we read about these accomplishments and we think about the barriers that these women had to overcome, but did you catch that statement that she was educated by her owners? Like, to just sit here in 2025 and just think about that, it's still ridiculous to this day. Her 1773 collection, Poems on Various Subjects, Religious and Moral, received international acclaim and made Wheatley a literary sensation. Despite gaining her freedom, Wheatley faced financial difficulties and died in poverty. You know, when we talk about leaders in Black history, it's just interesting to look at the amazing things that they accomplished that once again not only benefited the Black community but benefited America as a whole. And so many of our leaders, they made their transition poor. You know, like it's crazy how, you know, when we talk about other people and the contributions that they make, and they're able to make a profit or get funding, right, and live good lives, and like so many Black people who've made contributions to the upliftment of America die broke, right, with nothing. And it's insane because so many people benefit off of the contributions that they made. And let me get off my soapbox and finish reading. Despite, yes, her work continues to be a testament to the intellectual and creative contributions of Black women during the colonial era. Let me see, do I have, I'm gonna try to slide one more in here. Let me see. Dr. Rebecca Lee Crumpler. Dr. Rebecca Lee Crumpler was the first Black woman in the United States to earn a medical degree. Graduating from the New England Female Medical College in 1864, Crumpler dedicated her career to serving underserved communities, particularly freed Blacks after the Civil War. She published a book titled A Book of Medical Disclosures in 1883, focusing on women's and children's health, making her one of the first African-American authors on medical topics. Despite facing discrimination and hostility from her colleagues, her work helped to advance medical care for Black communities. That was probably one you hadn't heard of before. And I got 3 minutes. I'm gonna try to see if I can put in one more. Okay, I'm gonna do 2 more, just slide them in. Like I said, if you want a part 2 of this lecture, drop a comment live on Facebook or on YouTube. Anne Lowe was a pioneering Black fashion designer known for creating Jacqueline Kennedy's wedding gown in 1953. Born into a family of dressmakers, Lowe overcame racism and professional discrimination to become a sought-after designer among high society women. Despite her talent, listen to the theme, she faced financial hardship and was denied credit for her designs. Only in recent years has her role in American fashion history been recognized, highlighting the racial inequities faced by Black artists and designers. Did you notice what I said? I didn't say her role in Black fashion history, her role in American fashion history. Because once again, she made a contribution that didn't just benefit her community, it benefited the country, right? Like this theme of not being able to get funding, not being able to get credit, and then having your work go hidden for years, and then now things are just coming out. How many more Black women or Black leaders out there that we haven't heard of, that their work is just waiting for someone to bring it to light? And then I got 2 minutes, and I'm gonna end with this one. Diane Nash was a key figure in the civil rights movement. As a student at Fisk University, she helped organize the Freedom Rides to challenge segregation in interstate bus travel. Nash also played a central role in founding, guess what? SNCC, the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, and was instrumental in the Selma voting rights movement, which led to the passage of the Voting Rights Act of 1965. Her quiet strength and strategic leadership were pivotal in the success of nonviolent resistance. So as I come to a close, the reason why I wanted to take today and talk about these somewhat hidden figures, and I hope that you learned a new woman to look up, to learn more about the contributions that she made, not just to Black history, but also American history. Like as we talk about all of the inventions and the things that Black people have done in America, we have so many leaders who have fought to make our communities better. And as I talked about Ella Baker and the concept of not focusing on one leader, but having everybody can take up the role as a leader. Everybody can take up the role as a champion for their community. When we look at the state of our communities in the inner cities of America, in the hell hills of the United States, it doesn't take like just one person to be a leader in a community to help create change. It takes somebody who cares about the community and wants to see a difference. So that doesn't mean that, oh, you have to be an Ella Baker or you have to be a Martin Luther King. You can be a Ray Ray or a Kanisha, and you can look at your community and say, hey, I'm tired of looking at garbage on the ground in my community. I'm tired of all of this gun violence in my community. I'm tired of how they treat us in the schools. I'm tired of the lack of grocery stores. And you can stand up and fight for change and actually create a legacy of improving your community. Because we have to look at it this way. No one is parachuting down on some angel wings when some blonde hair is going to save the Black community. It's up to us to take a stand, not just focusing on Black women, but Black men and the Black family as a whole. It's time for us to take a stand and actually stand up and fight for what we want to see in our community. Because if the current political climate hasn't showed you, nobody is going to do anything for us but us. And I'm going to close out with that. Thank you so much for joining us for our Toma Nation Sunday worship service. You can always join us each and every Sunday here in the Grand Crossing community of Chicago, Illinois at 616 East 71st Street at 1230. Come and be fed by God's messengers. Peace and blessings, Black family, Black power.
We invite you and your family to join us live every Sunday at 616 East 71st Street at our new time from 12:30 to 1:30 p.m. and on Facebook from 12:30 to 1 p.m. If you have enjoyed what you have heard, please feel free to support us with a monetary gift on Cash App at $TOMANATION. Once again, that's $TOMANATION. This will conclude our live stream. The message you have been listening to will continue live here at the Toma headquarters. We thank you, Black family. See you next Sunday. Black power.
This is the eternal divine spirit, the one that causes all that exists to exist, the one that is self-existent.
How many men have children and the children never meet their father? See, you created a void in that child because you are a part of that child.